I didn't do 4 years of college to go and learn how to teach people how to train their dogs. I'd just spent 15 years training dogs, and I thought I could teach people how to do it. So I spent probably 4 or 5 years experimenting on my clients. But they didn't seem to mind, and the dogs are sort of still surviving, and a lot of them have come back, so I must be doing all right. So I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of how the last 12 months has been for me, because that will give you an idea of the diversity of jobs that I've had to deal with. And again, remember, I thought I was being a dog trainer. So from the dog training business, which I really started about 14 years ago, partly because I had a second child and suddenly I couldn't go out and work. So living in the country, 2 kids, no childcare facilities, not very much work. So to start something up, really just to give myself an interest, I took up dog training. Pretty quickly from there, I realised that my clients were saying, well, why don't you put up some kennels and we can leave our dogs with you? So then it grew from that. So I've always allowed the business to actually tell me the direction I need to go. So I don't set my plan, I actually try to watch what's happening and then take that into that area. So my last 12 months started off in December and January. I was pretty well running the kennels. It's a pretty happy time, it's very hands-on. I can have phone calls about people who have bought a new puppy and want to spend half an hour talking to me about how much fun it is and how delightful the dog is, but all of these problems. So that's the fun side of it. But then I could have a dog who dies. That's in my kennel and someone's on their honeymoon. So I'm the one who's then got a few days of sleepless nights thinking, how am I going to tell these people? They come home and I've got to deal with that. So it's actually quite stressful. I've also had phone calls where my daughter has died and now I've got her dog and we don't know how to handle this situation, but we can't get rid of the dog. So suddenly I'm on the phone being a counsellor. These are things I never expected to be able to do. So it sort of carries on. Now February came and we had a pretty good time initially in February. My son came home from his overseas exchange and so we had a great time. Here's our son home. 10 days later, fire. Literally within 400 metres of the kennels, and here we are with petrol pumps, pumping away, flooding the gardens, trying to keep everything going, and very, very stressful. But we just focused on what's happening right here, right now. That's all we worried about. We watched the helicopters, we just let everything go. Then at 1 o'clock in the morning, they told us the fire was 400 metres up the road and it was heading our way. So we loaded 2 horses, 2 ponies, 11 dogs out of the kennels, 4 cats, our own 3 dogs, 2 children, a husband, myself, 2 husbands. I wish. 2 incomes, double income. And we hopped in the cars and we got out. And then we go down and invade some friends of ours, and then next thing, at 1 o'clock in the morning, here we are juggling dogs and cats and things like that into stables and floats and whatever. Next morning we snuck back in, and because we wanted to get back, we knew the house was okay, we'd had phone calls from neighbours. So we get back in with all the dogs. A couple of them are pretty stressed, but really quite well managed. And so we went through, but we then spent the next 3 days locked away in Wandong with no power, no phones, no support from any authority, not once. And even since, have we ever had a police car or a council worker come round to see where we are or do we need anything? We had no petrol, just whatever was in the car and whatever was in the generator. So we couldn't even put the generator on at night to have power. But we managed, and that was fine. Then we get into March. Now, we actually lost March. It just disappeared on us. We don't know what happened. I think it might have been a delayed shock. We were a little bit afraid to sort of leave it. We'd stayed home. We sort of congregated, and basically I think that's the time when you think, oh, I've got a great husband, because suddenly you just realise being home together and our place, which by the way we actually have built from scratch without builders or anything ourselves over the years, for the last 25 years. So the whole place is very precious to us. Okay, so then we hit April or May. So remember, we've had a few months now with no income, and we're sort of coping, getting by. Now slowly we're starting to get back a little bit more normality in the kennels, My husband also runs a cyclone fencing business, which we've been handling for 25 to 30 years. And there's limited income and there's very little cash coming in. But we have to outlay cash because now we've got to review where we're at and what we're going to do in the next 12 months. We've got to prepare for another fire season. So that means we need a tractor, we've got to be able to dig trenches, we've got to be able to put in pipes, we've got to get bigger water systems, and none of that's subsidised because we don't get subsidies for tanks and things like people downtown. June and July come, so now I'm an accountant, right? I'm getting figures together, and this involves the 2 businesses, 2 personal accounts and a self-managed super fund. So this is not an ordinary thing that I'm trying to deal with. This is lots of different brackets that I've actually got to get together. Huge job, and there's also so many changes to the tax laws that I'm trying to keep up with. Also trying to organise a website. So now I'm marketing, advertising, where do I go, where do I spend my money? How can I make the most of it? I have to expand because I've got less work. I've had a lot of months without income. The only way I'm going to get it to boost up again is to actually look at how I can generate better advertising. Now we go into August. Now I'm trying to expand the business. Right? The business has told me that grooming is now something that everyone wants to have done with their dogs, and there's not enough groomers. So this is fun. Now I've negotiated with the banks, so now I'm a finance advisor. October and November. Now I'm really frustrated. Right? I've found 3 likely locations for a business. I've arranged finance, so I'm pretty chuffed. I've researched my client base, been talking to everybody I can think of. How many dogs have you got? How much do you pay? Then I go through, I've even got some staff that I've worked with and starting to train them, and we're clipping dogs at home. Right? Now I've hit a brick wall with council. No, you can't do it there. No, you can't do it there. 3 different zonings, they won't let me run. So 2 houses that I had the opportunity to purchase, I now can't purchase because they've told me I can't work there. So now I'm actually learning how to be a town planner. So I'm actually going out, I've researched, found out where other councils have allowed these sort of businesses so that I've got my ammunition so that next time I find a location I can go in there and basically railroad them into what I want. No. So if I compare what I've done over the last 12 months with a manager or a CEO of a large company, they've got a luxury I can't afford. They can have specialist staff. They have a problem, they hand it over to someone. Right? If they want to consider any growth, they'll set tasks and delegate it out to various people. They go off, get their information, compile a report, hand it back to the CEO. CEO then either gives it a nod or moves it off. So I don't have any of that. I've just got to fumble through myself and find out the information as best I can and try to come to a decision. The other thing that probably a CEO doesn't have quite the same as me is I'm financially on the line any time I make a decision. If I stuff up, it's my money that's down the tubes. It's not some shareholders. It's me. So why do I bother being self-employed? All of that effort, but why do I bother? Basically, I love it, right? It's changing all the time. My job never stays stagnant. I'm turning 50 this year. I'm probably doing more now than what I've ever done. And I'm enthusiastic about some of these changes, and I'm a little bit more reserved about others. But I do get a chance to walk my own path, and that's something that I really love being able to do. If I need to make changes, I do it. Right? I can see a change needed, I make a change. I don't have to work through any company protocol. How many of you are actually working in a company environment and then you realise, I wish we could do this, but then you have to go through so many processes and then it gets watered down anyway. I don't have that. I just say, change it. Do it. The only fool I have to contend with at work is me. Thank you.